is a matter of perception. Some choose to stay unhappy about having everything, and some choose to stay happy with the little things he or she has.
Beautiful Tuesday morning, and indeed the week started on a very good note, and we hope to keep it at that pace. Karibu sana, this is Morning Cafe with me, Linda Alela. It's always good doing this with you, and we're looking at a beautiful Tuesday ahead, a bit chilly, so to speak, but then again, so much is happening, one in the world of news, so much positivity even as we continue to deal with COVID-19 positivity, because then, well, the numbers are not as bad as, we would expect, though we are getting to that cold season, and therefore the Ministry of Health maintains that it's important that you're careful. Be sure to make sure that at least you abide by the guidelines, make them, a little bit more tough for yourself, or maybe take them a notch higher in comparison to what it is that you're going to do, so that we all together are able to deal and to tame the spread of COVID-19 in the country and beyond. And of course, we have so much lined up for you. We look at the politics of the day. Even as the political activities have been shelved because of COVID-19, there's still so much that is playing out. There's still so much that speaks volumes of where the Jubilee Party is, where it stands, its positioning, and what is likely to happen or culminate in the next few months as we are headed to the general elections. So much has played out, of course, from that historical High Court ruling in regards to matters BBI, to some level putting a halt to the conversation of BBI. But as Baba would say, reggae is still on. Is it? We can only wait to see. And we'll engage the gentleman that will be joining us on set this morning. Someone told me that we are, insensitive to the aspect of gender. The ladies out there, where are you? Let's make it a man's affair for a moment. Allow me to be that lady that represents you. But next time we'll make sure that we have all of you. And so we'll be looking at the historic, judgment, and, what are the possibilities of, reggae being revived. That request by the Jubilee Party, or better yet, the proponents of the BBI, in regards to just allowing the IEBC, or the courts allowing the IEBC to proceed with preparations because of the aspect of time and whether, again, they are well placed in the Constitution. We'll be looking at all that as we proceed with requests. We do not forget to speak about, the problems and the goodies, and of course how the Mount Kenya region is aligning itself in regards to matters of politics. Kiambaa is right about the corner. That is in regards to by-elections, and everyone is watching to see just what happens. Moses Kuria, on the other hand, just trying to probably, I don't know whether play smart or not, but he officially declared that, well, he's not going to be fronting PEP, candidates. We can only wait to see what plays out in regards to the same. We'll also be having one of the key individuals who was instrumental in the by-elections in Juja to engage us on that. It is the Baraza, so make sure that you keep it right here so that we all look at all this politics that is shaping the nation today. Importantly, we'll be looking at matters business. It's Tuesday, and you know very well that from the Baraza, we go all the way to matters business, and it's business with KCK. Today, we'll be focusing much on rental income tax. Very important, really, really important, angle of tax. And so we'll be having the specialists, as always, to take us through the same. So make sure that you keep it right here. Drop the comments, drop the questions, anything that you'd want to ask in regards to tax, or you would want to weigh your view in regards to the politics of the day. We'll definitely be here to sample some of these comments as we proceed. Quite a lengthy intro right there, but all the same, karibu sana. And before we get to that, of course, as always, we look at what it is that the papers have. And the front page of the Standard newspaper, we have them here, hard copies, and we also have the soft copies. Ruto's truce fails to stop hustler fight. The Deputy President makes a timely intervention to end the row over Kiambaa parliamentary by-election candidate, but the vicious infighting within his political house escalates to the battle for the soul of hustler nation. A story captured on page 6. We'll be looking at that as we proceed with the broadcast. Remember, yesterday we had Rigathi Gachagua, Honorable MP Rigathi Gachagua, who said that indeed, well, they are determined and focused much on 2022 politics, and therefore the by-elections here, in as much as they are important for them, mastering their, of course, ground or stamping the authority, it's also important that we note it is inconsequential, and therefore they would not allow such indifferences to come in between them and, alter their plans for the big picture. So we'll be looking at that as we proceed with the broadcast. We'll also have one of the individuals who's vying for a position, for that position, that is in Kiambaa. We'll be painting a picture of what, the politics on ground is like as at now. And Baba, storms Kisumu to calm tension. Just how much has he been able to do that? Or in Democratic Movement leader, that is Right Honorable Raila Odinga, yesterday addressing the public at Kisumu Bus Park, and of course that is in the lakeside city, to prepare ground for Madaraka Day celebrations as Jomo Kenyatta Stadium, or at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium on June the 1st. President Uhuru Kenyatta will preside over that historic event, and a story captured on page 7 of the Standard newspaper. We look at that and the goodies that hit Kisumu and what it is that he says reggae is still on. CJ Kome's style begins to show as she takes office. We'll be looking at that and just how instrumental then she will be in this office. Of course, taking from Maraga, quite some big shoes to fit in, and all eyes on as to how she is going to just drive the activities at this arm of government. India hit by black fungus, that also in regards to matters health. A story captured on page 31 of the Standard newspaper, how bread bakers have been duping us. And well, it's quite unfortunate if you realize that the size of bread really has been going down and down and down, from eating expired bread to falling for lies about the ingredients and weight. Consumers have been left hungry, dissatisfied, and this is set to worsen with the impending tax bound to raise the commodities cost, something that has been criticized by many. As many would say, well, lots of revolutions will always culminate from the prices of bread, but as again others would argue, as a country we are past that, and therefore shouldn't be cause for alarm. But then again, the government should consider what it is that they speak of as they talk of raising the prices of bread. And to other stories, that is on the Daily Nation. Help is here, I promise. This is what Justice Martha Koome promises, or Chief Justice Martha Koome, who pledges to transform the judiciary from a parking lot of corruption cases to a leader in accountability and the aspect of integrity. All those who walk down the court corridors will go home feeling that justice has been done, she vows as she takes office. A story captured on page 8. We'll be looking at her later on and what she brings on board, speaking at a glance, a backlog of cases that she's supposed to deal with, and the aspect of technology where they are set to continue in the mainstream use of technology, that is in judiciary work, expand the electronic filing service and other ICT initiatives, and as of course the aspect of funding, champion for resources to revamp the data registry and technology systems, push for additional funding and sustainable budget, as she has always said, and also the aspect of the independence of the judiciary, respect and enforce the decisional independence of individual judges and magistrates is one of the key things that she seeks to address, and she calls upon the executive, the other arm of government, and of course to make sure that at least that is well looked into for better performance of the judiciary. We'll be looking at this, like I said, as we proceed, and on the aspect of so much so in regards to the aspect of universities and the placements and all that. We were expecting to get that from the Ministry of Education, but then, well, that was postponed. But then again, CS Magoha maintains that soonest will be able to get this. So BBI reg is still on. Raila assures funds. As I have said, we'll be looking at that as we proceed. I can see the gentlemen are already finding their way into the studio, and therefore we loop them in any moment from now. From Once Election, CS also says keeps the children waiting for Prof. Magoha. Will the report on June 15th, 2 months after release of KCPE exams results. A story captured on the back page, and we'll be having our education reporter to make sure that they follow up on that for you. Ruto allies fight over hustler tag. Are they fighting? Well, Rigathi Gachagua maintains that is not the case. We are just reading too much into it. Only time can tell. As one would say, how many times have we been speaking of the fact that, you know, they keep telling us that Jubilee House is in order, Jubilee House is in order, until eventually or lately that acknowledgement that things have fallen apart within this ruling party, and therefore it is time that they go back to the drawing board. But just how likely are they to have this reconciliatory process and maybe have the party running in style again? Definitely a question of wait and see. Let's look at what the People Daily has in store for us this morning. And here we are with the People Daily. The front page of the People Daily, anxiety as Form 1 election delayed. That we've also touched on. And we also try and see what else has been captured. Storm in Hustler Nation gathers momentum. Well, has it? A question of wait and see, like I have rightfully put it. BBI project is right on track, declares Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and Koome to mend fences with other government arms. And lastly, on the front page, senators seek to tame rising fuel prices. But just how possible is that, and how genuine are they? A story captured on page 8. We look at all this as we proceed with the broadcast. More or less the same stories as you can see on the front pages of all these papers. Briefly on what is happening on the roads. And here we are. Not so much of traffic this morning, in as much as, well, there is some bit of, rain, or so to speak, a chilly morning. I don't know why I'm not getting a clear picture of this. Just let's try and see, starting from where it is that we are Westlands. I might need to work on this as we proceed, so at least we get it all clear, so that we get pictures that tell us exactly of what the scenario is. Let's get to update it further. And as it does that, it's only important that we also delve deep into looking at what it is that my team has prepared. Not to worry, because I'll make sure that I get a hold of this, and also some of the feedback that is coming from the road, that is from you. Tell us what is happening around where it is that you are, and I'll definitely make sure that I'll update all of us so that at least we are on the loop as to what is happening on the roads. We don't want us being caught in traffic just because we could not be able to, come out and, update us accordingly. And so as we try and get a hold of this, let's briefly first look at what it is that my team has prepared. That is news-wise, and then we'll look at the roads later on. And slain Somali-American businessman, that is Bashir Mohamud, has been, or we know, was laid to rest at the Langata Muslim Cemetery yesterday evening. That is earlier, as post-mortem examination carried out by the government pathologist Johansson Odwar at the Umash Funeral Home revealed that Bashir was tortured before he was strangled to death.
After 2.5 hours of waiting for the autopsy results of slain businessman Bashir Mohamud at the Umash Funeral Home in Nairobi, his family was on Monday morning informed what transpired before Bashir finally died. The results showed that he was tortured with burn wounds all over his body, bearing evidence his toenails had been plucked out. He had bruises on his arms and knees, an indication that he was defending himself from his tormentors.
Very consistent round burn marks, which perhaps could be something round was used to something round and hot, like the car lighter was used to inflict those pains. And then there's also evidence of flame burns, almost consistent with a lighter or something that emits direct flame.
The autopsy also revealed that he was hit severally on the head using a blunt object, consistent with the deep cuts on his head. Government pathologists said Bashir was murdered before being thrown into River Nyamindi as there was no any signs of water in his lungs. The pathologist also clarified that he had no gunshot wounds, and as such, he died of strangulation.
Body was thrown into water after his death. There are samples that have been taken, and so once those samples are analyzed by the government chemist, we will be able now to ascertain properly the time of death.
The post-mortem was done in the presence of DCI officers from Dagoretti and forensic experts from the DCI headquarters. The family, through their lawyers, have resolved to write to the Director of Public Prosecutions to open an inquest into Bashir's murder.
Tukiangalia watu kutoka upande wa magharibi, karibu kila wiki kuna kisa cha mtu kupotea na mara nyingi mwili hata hupatikani. Sisi tunashukuru alhamdulillah tumepata mwili wa Bashir na tutaandika barua tukimuomba kiongozi wa mashtaka bwana ofisi ya ODPP watusaidie kufungua kesi ya kufikia mwisho ama kuchimba zaidi ni nini kilitendeka kwa bwana wetu Bashir.
We will never forgive those who killed Bashir, and we expect God will punish them as quickly as possible. We are praying day and night, and God will accept our prayers. And also for the other Kenyans who have lost, and our other people who are citizens of this country and living, also we pray for them that God should punish those who are making their blood, letting their blood innocently.
Bashir's body was interred at the Langata Muslim Cemetery after the 4 p.m. prayers in an emotional send-off attended by hundreds of people. Bashir went missing on the evening of Eid al-Fitr celebrations, and his torched vehicle traced at Ngong Forest before its shell was carted away by unknown people. Bashir's body was retrieved from Nyamindi River 3 days after he went missing and was identified by his family a week later at the Kirugoya Level 5 Hospital mortuary in. It has been the final journey for Bashir Mohamed Mohamud here at the Langata Muslim Cemetery. His family has been left with a myriad of questions with no one to answer on who killed Bashir and why. They now want the Director of Public Prosecutions Nurdin Haji to open an inquest into Bashir's murder to unravel the mystery behind it. Mwangi Maina, TV 47 from the Langata Muslim Cemetery, Nairobi.
Well, Chief Justice Martha Koome has officially assumed office 2 days after being sworn in. Koome has promised to walk in her predecessor's David Maraga's shoes. However, Koome's tray is full, with the judiciary banking on her interpersonal skills to negotiate the appointment of 41 judges who President Uhuru Kenyatta refused to appoint 2 years ago, as well as increase the judiciary budget that was cut by about 3 billion shillings.
That is the judiciary flag.
After taking her oath of office at State House on Friday, Chief Justice Martha Koome officially assumed office at the Supreme Court grounds on Monday.
This is the report that the retired CJ.
Several leaders graced the 3-hour ceremony, with most congratulating Koome for her appointment as the country's first female Chief Justice.
We are proud that as a country, for the first time, we are having a first lady Chief Justice, and you are equal to the task.
You go to a very demanding office, extremely demanding, but you are up to it.
Forget about being a woman. Justice is neither male nor female. If anything, it could very well be transgender.
The little known about past of Kenya's first female judge, Effie Owuor, also took center stage at the Supreme Court event, with the retired Judge Owuor narrating her horrific experiences in the corridors of the Apex Court.
Even where to go and powder my nose was a big problem. The male judges told me that I can't go to where they go to because we do everything else differently. So I said, okay. I'll go to the Hilton every day to do it and then I come back. The Chief Justice himself had to give up his toilet to make peace between me and the male judges. It worked.
Lady Justice Kome's in-tray is however full. Her first task will be appointing the panel of Court of Appeal judges who will hear and determine the appeal against the High Court ruling which declared the BBI constitutional amendment bill unconstitutional. Kome is also expected to rebuild the judiciary-executive shaky relationship. The wrangles between President Kenyatta and her predecessor retired Chief Justice David Maraga exacerbated the judiciary's role in dispensing justice after President Kenyatta failed to appoint 41 judges.
I have learned that changing the nature.
2 years ago, Maraga accused the national government of cutting the judiciary's budget by about 3 billion shillings, crippling Maraga's mobile court pilot project that aimed to deal with cases in remote areas.
The issues that you call for your immediate attention is the pending appointment of 40 of the 41 individuals the Commission nominated for various judicial offices in June and July 2019.
Our annual budgetary allocation averages less than 1% of the approved national budget, which is often subjected to further cuts as the financial year progresses, leaving us with near nothing for development of our facilities.
We will continue to build the case for additional funding and a sustainable budget for these investments and judiciary functions based on our track record and needs of Kenyans.
However, the other two arms of government have pledged to support Kome's efforts, President Kenyatta insisting that there is no bad blood between the judiciary and the executive.
Please keep reminding all of us, everybody, that constitutional power is constrained power, so that everybody keeps to his or her lane. We have a wonderful country.
And the expectation of all Kenyans is that the judiciary will dispense justice.
We will support you and remain firm. An independent judiciary guarantees democracy.
I look forward to working with the National Assembly and indeed all stakeholders to help us develop systems and mechanisms that facilitates greater efficiencies along the justice chain and especially between the arms of government.
As the first female Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court assumes office, and with appeal against the High Court ruling that nullified the BBI constitutional amendment process expected to begin soon, Justice Martha Kome's biggest nightmare will be to mend the judiciary executive ties. Musa Salah for TV 47 at the Supreme Court, Nairobi.
And now, John Njuguna Wanjiku is now the official United Democratic Alliance candidate for the Kiambaa parliamentary by-election. This is after the People Empowerment Party withdrew its contender, that is yesterday morning, in favor of the umbrella party, that is UDA, as Grace Josephine reports.
But his party had resolved to withdraw from the race to salvage unity within the Tanga faction counterparts.
John Njuguna Wanjiku. That is a candidate for the Hustler Nation. Any other candidate is on his own.
The UDA as a party has no surrogate chant in Kiambaa.
The two outfits, both associated with the Hustler Nation, were poised to clash in the mini polls as they had both fielded candidates. UDA members, together with their Kiambaa candidate John Njuguna Wanjiku, called for a free and fair election as Njuguna submitted his credentials to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Kiambu offices.
Sasa ni kutoka hapo ni kufanya campaign, tufanye campaign za amani na tuna hakika.
And UDA, we are one team, the Hustler Nation team. There was some little misunderstanding in terms of approach on who to field where. And just the way we approach the Juja by-election as a team, the way we approach Lori as a team, even here, Moses Kuria has agreed and all of us have agreed that we move as a team, the Hustler Nation team.
Hizi campaign zetu ni za amani. Hustler Nation yote ya Kiambaa na Hustler Nation yote ya nchi ya Kenya kwa sababu hata leo wamejitokeza umati kubwa sana.
Elsewhere, UDA has been keen on its political realignments ahead of the general elections. Led by the party chairperson Johnston Muthama, the political elite extended their invitation to potential flag bearers to join the 5-month-old political party following its recent success in previous mini polls.
I want to appeal to Honorable Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi, Honorable Moses Wetangula, and Honorable Mukhisa Kitui to come and practice politics of Kenya rather than politics of dividing our community.
Musikatae mimi ni mtu wa nyumbani na heti huyo mtu hakuna pale anaenda. Wale ambao wametaja jamii zao katika kila uchaguzi wameshindwa na hakuna pale wamefika.
The Kiambaa by-election is slated for July the 15th, 2021. Grace Josephine for TV47.
Well, that one forms the basis of our conversation this morning, and these two, the politics around President Uhuru Kenyatta's succession appears to have muddied the waters in central Kenya, with a section of leaders now calling for the resignation of the National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi. That is after his coronation last Saturday to become the spokesperson of the region, as Mike Kagungu tells us.
National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi's coronation continues to elicit reactions, especially in central Kenya. The opinions are split into two, those for and those against. Among the leaders opposing the move is Kadara MP Alice Wahome, who has dismissed Muturi's elevation, accusing him of attempting to dethrone President Kenyatta from the role since his term ends in 2022.
I think the speaker should actually resign from being the speaker and then handle those issues of because he's bringing to disrepute. The Speaker of the National Assembly is bringing to disrepute the image of the National Assembly and coming to smear it with the cultural politics that are not agreed upon, you know.
According to MP Wahome, the ceremony is archaic since women were not allowed inside the shrine, with Murang'a Senator Irogo Kang'ata saying anyone purporting to be Mount Kenya spokesman is misplaced, adding that Mount Kenya region is behind DP William Ruto.
He cannot have both. The Speaker of the National Assembly should elect whether he wants to be our Speaker of the National Assembly or whether JB Muturi wants to be the Mount Kenya spokesperson of whatever arrangement he's thinking about.
We Kikuyus, we do not believe in vertical leadership by one king. No, we don't believe in that. We used to be ruled by a council of elders. So anyone who is purporting to become a Kikuyu king, I think he doesn't know what he's doing. Our political king is William Samoei Ruto.
The National Assembly Speaker, who is from the Mbere community, has the support from Meru Governor Kiraitu Murungi, Martin Wamporer of Embu, and Muthomi Njuki of Tharaka Nithi. Meanwhile, Mukurweini MP Anthony Kiai has defended the ceremony, maintaining the coronation of Muturi is a move in the right direction, which can unify the community. According to Kiai, those opposed to Muturi's coronation and have the ambitions to lead the region should declare their stand and seek their endorsement, since there should be no vacuum once President Uhuru Kenyatta leaves the office.
Let them also come out, sell their agenda. They may want to be regional kingpins, maybe Kenya or whatever else, or Mount Kenya. Let them come out. Let them now try to do what Mr. Muturi is doing.
On his part, Kikuyu High Priest Coordinator Wambogo Nyamo said as elders, they have no problem with Muturi's coronation as a spokesperson, but they are opposed to where the occasion occurred.
And that's how you find all those elders. They normally come to Nyeri. Even Uhuru, it was done in Onai. So that's why it's done. So for Muturi, there's no problem, and I keep on saying. I told you there's no problem with the coronation of Muturi. The only problem, it was done in the wrong place. Had they done it in Uhura, or done it in Roringo, or done it in Kiambu, Kiregeti, or wherever, there would not be an issue. The only issue was the desecration of our community ancestral homestead. That was the only problem.
For TV 47, I'm Mike Kagungu.
You know, even as we are listening to these stories, the conversation is on here. So I don't know which one we pick first, gentlemen. Is it that one on by-elections, that is Kiambaa, that turns out to be heated quite, hugely? Yesterday I had Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, who argued that really the by-elections are inconsequential. But from the look of things and from the conversation here, this is contrary to what it is that he speaks about. Evidently, these by-elections will hugely determine what plays out in 2022 and also speak volumes of just who has the muscle in terms of, getting the biggest seat. And also on that last story, as you have seen right there, is one key thing that we also seek to address. That is in Mount Kenya. Kiambaa, one would look at it as though it's part and parcel of Mount Kenya, in as much as nowadays it's all cosmopolitan, because most of the people, reside there are from different regions across the world. And some of them who work actually in Nairobi proceed home, that is to Kiambu. So we'll be having this discussion. And later on also we expound some more to the aspect of the judiciary and reggae, whether it is on or not, as Right Honorable Raila Odinga would rightfully put it. So hold it right there. I get to introduce my guests this morning. We don't have all of them just yet, but then again, I'll introduce the ones that we have, 4 of them. We're expecting 2 more. Right next to me, I'd call it right next to me, is really Kamau, political analyst and equally aspirant Kiambaa. Yes. How is it like down there?
It's getting better because now we have narrowed down to the guys who will be the main guys in the field.
Yes.
That is
How many?
There is me, Willy Kamau. I'm independent. I'm for the people.
Yes.
And there is UDA.
Yes.
And there is Jubilee.
Yes.
And now there are others.
Right.
Yes.
I saw this Karuri guy.
Yes.
That he's amongst the others.
What is his name? There are a few guys there.
Karuri driving school guy. Yes, I saw him moving around.
He has always been there. Yes. He has vied like for 3 times.
Yeah.
And so I tend to, when I beg the question, what is he planning to do differently to get where he's never gotten? And I haven't felt and I haven't seen anything that he's trying to do differently. And so I can say that the battle can be narrowed down to 3 guys right now. Okay. I am independent because I am for the people. Right. Because I'm telling people, we cannot repeat the same mistake. We had Jubilee that came in power like almost 10 years ago. You remember, you're from our place. Duty, that means from MCA to the presidential, you vote for this person, and then that is where we are coming from. Now where they want to take us is UDA, from the MCA all the way up there. They want us to repeat the same mistake with UDA. But now there is this group that has learned through the hard way that this is not the way to go. And these are the brilliant guys. And these are the guys we are working with. Fortunately, they are the majority of people. Kiambaa wajinga wamepunguka. Yes, we have learned from history.
All right. Well, whether you have is a question of wait and see. Peter Mushendu, political analyst also, and well conversant with the ground, as I can rightfully tell. Your expectations for that, even before we get to the discussion, that is Kiambaa?
I think on the onslaught, I would say that it's so unfortunate that the Kiambaa contest is going to be about national politics. Yeah. I am expecting Jubilee top knots to flex their muscles there. The same case with UDA. And unfortunately now that no longer makes Kiambaa contest about the Kiambaa people. Right. It is going to be a contest on who is superior than the other. But I must say on the onslaught, on this one, Jubilee has got it right.
All right.
In terms of nominating a potential candidate who can win an election. But on the other side, as someone who believes in the Hustler Nation's idea, I am very disappointed that my organization has picked a very weak candidate, candidate that do not possess any possible and visible development track in Kiambaa, other than kidnapping himself. You remember a few months back, he kidnapped himself and he savaged somewhere around Eldoret, claiming that he had been kidnapped. Yeah. But it was, those kidnappers must have been very generous. They put quite some good lotions on his body that we could not see a mark of an entanglement. But the point I'm trying to drive here home is that there is no single party that should be in the business of just fielding candidates. It should be about fielding candidates who have the capacity, who have the understanding of the ground, who have resonated with the people in terms of how have you related with the people before coming to ask for a seat.
All right.
And it's rather unfortunate that on this one, I think the president party might carry the day.
Okay.
And I am also saddened by the fact that one of the most prominent and popular candidate was rocked out of the
That
election.
is the PEP candidate.
The PEP candidate.
We're coming to Steve on that.
Yes.
We'll be coming to Steve on that. But Steve, before I introduce you, Eric Ragallo, you are one of the few people I have constantly seen, you know, so active on ground when it comes to the aspect of by-elections. And well, with so much understanding of the Constitution, so much understanding of what it is that we've had a quest on, that is on getting democracy and party politics and, you know, nominations and all this. What would you make of the Kiambaa conversation as it stands right now? There's been that fear that there's a lot of imposing of candidates to individuals. You know, you're told vote this person and all that, and therefore defeats or beats, you know, the efforts that we've put on board in terms of ensuring that, you know, there's that democratic space to have individuals out there, you know, battling for these positions.
Well, nominations are usually won by the parties that arrange themselves, I'm saying arrange themselves to win elections. And I would say the by-elections that have been done in Central Province, as of now, the most brilliant candidate there and brilliant person is the PEP owner, Moses Kuria. I remember we were to lose by-election in Kahawa Ndani, were it not for ODM getting into the Jubilee campaign and assisting Jubilee to campaign. And actually did that as the chairman, Ruiru constituency, because I couldn't see how we were going to lose that by-election. And ODM, we wore our clothes, the orange regalia, and we campaigned side by side with Jubilee, and that's how we won. Going to Juja, Moses Kuria did the same. And they didn't calculate what Moses Kuria was doing, and actually they lost. And so they lost Muranga, having won those seats in Muranga. And remember, we didn't really beat Moses Kuria in Kahawa Ndani as we would have beaten him, because the guy lost with fewer than 100 votes. So as much as we have bragging rights, but I still have a kofia to remove for Moses for the candidate they brought. It was a very difficult candidate. We call this guy Washaron. Then come to Juja, that guy was brilliant. The person they brought was Easy Cell. Koimbori is my friend. We've run together. I mean, Ruiru, he's in Juja. We've lost together. He's been number 2, perennial number 2, as I've been a perennial number 2. So he's a guy who has already sold himself in Juja for quite a long time. So he was an easy sell, other than bringing this lady who people didn't know, other than being a wife of a former member of parliament. That was the only selling point. But this other guy has been there. He's even built toilet in Wetaithi. So that is how Moses was brilliant. But coming now to Kiambaa, there's what we call sibling rivalry. Rigathi Gachagua wants to be the kingpin. So is Moses Kuria, and so is Ishungwa. So this sibling rivalry, they see, and this is what they see, that Moses has already taken the baton, he's running faster. So how do you cut him? He has a candidate who is an easy sell again. I'm telling you, he's brilliant. But how do you do it? Bring UDA, tell Moses, now you already won 2 seats. Let's also have a bragging right of getting a UDA candidate and win a seat in Central Region, which UDA have not. You bring a candidate who is not easy sell. I mean, it will take magic for them to win this seat.
Steve Muriungi Robert, a political analyst, but equally someone who's actively been involved in the politics of PEP. Is it PEP or PEP? It is PEP, whichever way one wants to mention it. And you know, last week, upon that win, he was really confident that they're going to field another candidate, that is in Kiambaa. And he was certain that, you know what, in as much as they're part and parcel of the UDA, reality is that, you know, they have to wake up and smell the coffee, and UDA realize that, you know what, every man for himself, God for us all. Just what changed?
Nothing much.
All right. Everything has changed. He is disappointed. No. If you'd ask Peter right now, Peter will tell you he's extremely disappointed. So much changed. So much changed.
You are a political analyst. You are a political analyst. You are not a defender. Don't defend what is wrong. I mean.
All I can say is that we were
Let's have it up a bit.
Yeah,
So at least
we were
can
very
hear you
confident about it.
Yes.
And we knew this seat is for PEP. From the word go, our idea was to support the deputy president to become the president of this country.
Yeah.
And
Still is, I would want to
yes,
believe.
we are still supporting him.
Yes.
We have not changed our minds. But we have only one problem. If the people who are close to him thinks that they can make it for themselves without involving others, that's where the problem will come in. Because like PEP, our idea from the word go was we look for another party, because UDA is not a Mount Kenya party, by the way. UDA is the way they call it, it's a national party.
Okay.
Let's call it national party. But now UDA needs some other small parties to support them to get where they are going.
Yeah.
But now the problem has come in where there are some superior people who thinks they are more superior than others, and now they want to push a party like PEP outside. They want to push like TSP party outside, and now they are left as individuals to make sure that they are getting to where they are going. But it will not be possible. The reason why many parties would help the deputy president to get where he is going is also the main reason why little parties or one party in the name of UDA will make the deputy president fail.
Okay.
We had like-minded people in one table. We sat down. We agreed on where we are going. And when we were filing candidate in Junja, because I heard the Gachagua saying that it is us who supported you, we didn't see UDA anywhere.
Let's be honest for a moment. Those people were down on ground campaigning. Peter, now that we already have introduced the head. Yes.
This is a fact.
Right.
That no single member of parliament from UDA, other than the Murang'a Senator, Ilongo Kangata, and even Ilongo Kangata was not actively on the ground. No single member of UDA showed up in Juja. Moses Kuria and Koibolu were on their own. That is a fact. I also want to be told which this bragging right that they have that they supported our candidate with money. How much money did Moses Kuria invest? And what it's true.
Are you in UDA or you are in PAP? I am confused for a moment.
This is a battle of interest.
Let me tell you. Today, the deputy president finds himself in the predicament of being alienated out of government.
Is it so?
Why is this so? The deputy president was convinced, let us dissolve URP, let us dissolve TNA and form Jubilee. What he did not understand was that Jubilee was going to be owned by the same people who owned TNA.
Okay.
And therefore, today, the deputy president finds himself in that predicament because we agreed to dissolve our regional parties. Now, do you expect us as people of the mountain to repeat the same mistake, dissolve our regional outfit, join UDA as a national party, and then find ourselves being alienated out of politics? Okay. And therefore, the argument here is, as the people of the mountain, can we create a bus? And Moses Kuria had started that road.
Okay.
But now, there is two things that will happen because of the decision Moses Kuria made yesterday not to field a candidate. One, Moses Kuria at the end of the day might have the bragging right. When the UDA candidate loses, he will stand and say, I had the most popular candidate.
Okay.
You forced me out of the race. You have now lost. But on the other hand is, which other candidate will expect or accept to be nominated by PEP, knowing that they can withdraw your name at the last minute?
Hold it right there. Let's first of all introduce Edwin Kigoli so that we do not operate as though he's not here. Edwin, how are you?
Very well. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you. We are talking matters by elections and generally what has played out, and with a key focus on UDA. First of all, this confusion that arises, gets us a little bit worried. As a young Turk, would you buy into the ideologies ideologies of this party that speaks of, painting a national outfit. Yet again, within itself, we still have individuals who speak about the mountain, and the interest of the mountain and the interest of this particular region and that region.
In this country, our politics are so interesting in the sense that we speak as only to what resonates with the day. Like, most of our political parties do not have identifying ideologies. Most of our political parties are driven by selfish interests, and you would find that it is one or two people who call the shots in our political parties. And that's why you find it very difficult for young people to even break the glass ceiling in our political party ranks. And if they get there, they are only there to, just like look like they appreciate young people, but in real sense, they don't. So when we talk about the current politics, the question that comes to mind is that what do they stand for? Do they appreciate the times that we find ourselves in as a country? We are so polarized, we are so politicized, we are so divided that when electioneering time comes, all of us retreat to our ethnic cocoons, and political parties are identified by the leaders from their regions. You find Region A saying, this is our political party, Region B, this is our political party. And when you ask them, what national values drive your political agenda? And many of them would struggle to tell you. And Linda Lila, you'll appreciate one fact, that as a country, we've come from one-party state to multi-party state. But then again, we have struggled to identify political parties with rallying themes. And that has been the problem, even when you look at the distribution of leadership in the National Assembly and Senate. You'll appreciate that some people are appointed to leadership positions not because they are the best, but because they are they follow hook and silka of what the political leaders say. If you want to speak your mind, the chances are that you'll be de-whipped or not be picked into like a powerful committee. So some of these challenges are the ones drawing back the gains we've had as a country in terms of the political arena.
Probably what it is that William speaks about. And William, you say that we have gotten to a point where, we say enough is enough.
Yes.
Tumechanuka.
Yes.
But do you suppose really tumechanuka to that level, honestly? That that tumechanuka with the ideologies, that tumechanuka with strategies that can root out these other, strategies that we've had for the longest of time?
Yes. Historically to speak, we can say that what this guy is trying to say is that Jubilee is the ruling party, and they think it's a popular party in Kiamba and in Kenya. That's a mistake.
Is it not? All right.
It's not.
Okay.
It's been making grave mistakes from day one when we started having by-elections, and that is why they have been losing, and they will continue to lose. Because first there was NARC Kenya, which was with Kibaki. It's a dead party right now, which was a president. They have been going round doing politics when they were supposed to be establishing economic mechanisms for the youth of this nation. And so the youth of this nation are out to teach this government a lesson. And I want to believe that sincerely these are a majority of the people who know that party politics and this shenanigan politics will never help the youth of this nation. And that is why we are forging our way forward as the youth of this nation. Because I am representing the fresh blood, the fresh ideas that people are looking up for. And I can tell you, Linda, for a fact that our people are yearning for something new, someone without baggage, someone who has the ideas to run an economy, someone who, by the way, you don't have to be popular, you just have to have the right message. And we are going to create the right mechanisms to bring our message out there so that we get to tell the people of Kiamba and the youth of this nation, decide, because the time is now. The reason I decided not to go on any party, because I feel this is the right to make history as the youth of this nation, that all we need is ourselves. We don't need a godfather, because all these godfathers have been walking the same path that have failed this nation time and time again. And so if we come together and harness our numbers with these ile kuchoka tumechoka, then we can forge our way forward. And we have been living in very present good times. times where people are making history. We have time. A woman is seated now as the CJ of this country. So we are also going to make our own history. Guys are tired of politics. They want to hear what is your economic plan for the nation, for the youth of this nation.
I really want to believe that such is the case.
Yes.
Because, well, it appears as though, but sometimes when it gets to the actual aspect, then you ask yourself what. When you speak about Mount Kenya, I am not allowing you to speak before Eric comes in. I am just curious to understand, well, just the other day we had conversations, or we had that, UDA Mount Kenya leaders had conversations with the DP, trying to say these are our irreducible minimums, this and that. So what then informs the fear of the fact that, well, if they let go of their own outfits, political outfits, then they might be shortchanged. I'll be coming to you for that particular answer. But Eric, as you pick it up from there and the aspect of popularity, at a time when, yes, we've held by-elections characterized with so much of voter apathy, how can someone be confident that, this is a party that is actually gaining momentum? This is a party that can speak volumes when it comes to the general elections?
General elections and by-elections don't go together. Those are two different things. Because most of the time you'll find that by-election determines by one arrangement of a party and how a candidate is able to maneuver in the regions that they are. And that's why in by-election you mostly find even a weak candidate that was thought to be weak wins. By election there is no weak candidate. But in general election, even the candidate that is not palatable will win just because of euphoria of the name of a party.
Okay.
And that's why when a party like Jubilee had a general election, when we were having a general election, we had many winners in Jubilee. And how many today can be counted that they support or they believe in Jubilee? So believing in a party does not mean you love the party. And if really Jubilee was a good party, then why is William Ruto out? Why is he out? Because actually he's one of the shareholders of Jubilee. If it was to be done half-half, he has a half of Jubilee.
Right.
And why is he out? So a party usually is formed to run and win an election. And it depends on older parties to get back to where they were. That is Ford Kenya, that is KANU, and ODM. There are only three older parties right now we can talk about. These other parties come because of a certain ideology. Right now, Moses Kuria party looks like the girl around that is winning more votes. But is it a good party? It is a good party, yes, because it can win votes. But is it a party that can run over 10 years? We beg to see. So why are political parties where they are? I'm actually conquering my friend behind here that political parties are formed to win an election. They are not there because they are more made to assist Kenyans. Kenyans are there to fight for their own wars. Economically, jipiganie. Jubilee came with a lot of things that they would have done. How much have they done? How much? Where are the computers for the kids? Where are the free primary education, whatever? Where are the free secondary education? Why do you bring us public, what do you call, service commission for youth? And we know if we form other commissions, youths will still be employed through other commissions. Judicial Service Commission still employ a 20-year-old person who is a lawyer. Is that not a youth? So do we need a constitution to ensure that youth develop? Do you need BBI for the youth? Those are the things I'm asking. So if political parties can be such a scenario, then we are not there to work for the Kenyans. The only part I would say that a political party should look and work for, they should look and work for economic development and social development for Kenyans. Winning election is part of it.
All right, well,
just one
briefly,
minute.
Make it brief, yes.
When he says that Jubilee failed to deliver in their promises, then what is the need of a political party? What are the interests of the people? The interests of the people are those computers for the children. They are those things that they promised, which they have not delivered. Then let us have people who have the interest of the people at heart getting into these offices.
Deputy President William Ruto, the bandwagon, that is Tanga Tanga, is hugely composed of Jubilee party members. And so they are coming up with a different conversation in regards to the Rutonomics, bottoms-up approach, and they say they're painting a different picture. Would you have the confidence that it will be a whole different affair if we are to trust and believe in them?
One thing I would say, remember Deputy President was a URP party leader.
Yes.
And URP had its own manifesto. They had their own very different ideas. Before they merged with other parties and now formed Jubilee.
Yeah.
I can say some of the ideas that the Deputy President had as URP were maybe not included when the parties were being merged. Some of them, out of maybe 20 or 10, the ideas he had, he came with maybe 2 or 3.
Oh, really?
And then other parties had to come up with other ideas they had for their parties to bring them together. So the left ideas which URP had is now what is trying to revive with the ideas that he has.
And those ideas they had, what did the Deputy President do?
At least the 2, 3 that were...
Other than Kamoror, other than maize scandal, other than they started fighting among themselves. I'm giving you Eric.
Eric,
I want to know.
Listen, let me just say something.
Now this is what politics.
Now we are talking about the Deputy President, whose role in the Constitution is defined by 2 sentences.
Okay.
What is the
How much can he do?
Let me tell you. What is the work of the Deputy President in the Constitution? He is 2. Number 1, he is the principal assistant to the president.
Yes.
And he can only work through delegation. That is the Constitution for him. So therefore, when you ask me what did the Deputy President do, the Deputy President his responsibility is principal assistant. And to assist, somebody has to call on you to assist.
In fact, he has outdone himself. So he has outdone himself for the Jubilee party.
He was a principal assistant in Kamoror Dam scandal.
Eric, that is something that is in court and has not been deliberated upon. Edwin, say something about this. You cannot just be silent. And I mean, honestly speaking, in as much as we'd want to point fingers at the Deputy President, reality is that when we speak about Aror Kimoret, it's not been deliberated upon. He's not been convicted by the courts, Eric, and therefore this whatever it is that you're speaking about could be neither here or there, unless it is confirmed.
I just said it.
It's Edwin to come in. Edwin.
Well, you know, in this country, we like to politic a lot against the threats that we face as a nation.
Yeah.
And those who say DP is just a principal assistant, and I cannot disagree more. But then again, the Deputy President chairs a very important committee, the budget, yes, committee, to make sure that
allocations and count, yes.
So how can we rate his success with that committee? How can we say the Deputy President was able to discharge the duties that were assigned to him very well? Yes, we know he's a worker. Yes, we know he's somebody with energy and he can really cover ground. But then again, is he addressing himself fully to the economic structure of this country? When we talk about wheelbarrows, we are addressing a particular segment of the population. What about the jobless graduates out there? What about higher education? What about issues to do with foreign direct investment? What about issues to do with diaspora remittances, which are very important to the growth and development of our economy? Because when you compare foreign direct investment and diaspora remittances, you see, for FDIs, they dry up most especially in this country when we are close to elections and a year or 2 after elections. But when we talk about diaspora remittances, these are people who will always send in money even if the situation is dire in this country. They'll keep sending money so that their families can be cushioned and they can survive. So that, in essence, means that the purchasing power will still be capacitated even in crisis. And this will always help to spur economic growth and development. So as we head into 2022, my appeal to young people in this country is that time has come that we need to vote in leaders not because of the depth of their pockets, but because of their ability to deliver on their manifesto. And what we need to do in this country, Linda, is a shift in mentality. Let us abandon the culture and the perception of being given 50 shillings, 100 shillings for you to vote in a leader to buy the next 5 years of suffering.
What will it take? What will it take to do that is one of the key things that we keep asking.
And more poverty and more poverty.
We take a short break, gentlemen. Let's take a short break and then we come back, respond to that.
Wondering what next in a crowded, confused and uncertain career market after KCSE? Worry no more. TV47, the fastest growing youth-targeted TV station across the 47 counties, brings you an entire month of career options and choice opportunities across all the leading universities and TVET institutions. We have put together a rich group of experts who will guide you through your career aspirations throughout the month of May. This will climax with a virtual career fair scheduled for the 28th of May at the University of Nairobi Auditorium. All relevant stakeholders are invited to reserve a seat via david.katiku@tv47.co.ke or careersfair@tv47.co.ke on 0791 999 883.
New Blue Band peanut butter. Made with 100% pure peanuts. And a good source of omega-6. Grow healthy and happy kids with New Blue Band peanut butter.
Hey, now that's hitting the right notes. When life gets boring, we bring out our play. You see, playfulness is in our DNA. It's in the way we move and laugh. It's in the way we walk, the way we rock, and how we just don't stop. You feel me? We add color to everything, to every day and every dish, because the world needs our crazy. We're the different flavors that make life more exciting. We're the ones who add color to every moment. Fanta, color every moment.
Raukia siku njema na tunukiwa offers kila siku. Pata offers zote mahali pa
heavily on the politics of the day, and that's exactly what we're doing. Still on the aspect of by-elections as we look at, what is likely to happen, that is in Mount Kenya region in terms of that shift, and generally across different regions, because we always talk of politics of kingpins, just who's going to take up the mantle. And sadly, as they would rightfully say it, we are an ethno-majoritarian society, and therefore we do not run away from our political or our ethnic cocoons. We just ask this question: how best do we shift? How best do we get that shift where we can confidently say that, enough is enough? We are speaking as youths, we are speaking as women of this country, we are speaking as the men of this country, and we're not speaking based on political affiliation or, tribal affiliation. And therefore, that is the conversation this morning. Still with me, William Kamau, political analyst, who's right next to me. Peter Mushendu, who's a political analyst too. We have Edwin Ragalo, who's also Eric. Sorry, who is there? Yes, there's Edwin here. That's why there's that Eric Ragalo, political analyst, and yes, we have Edwin Kigoli right behind him, youth and policy analyst, and lastly, Steve, that man that I had last week and had the confidence that Pep will be fielding a candidate that is in Kiambaa. Well, they had remained adamant until the last minute. Whatever it is that changed, we do not know. Steve Muriungi Robert, political analyst, karibu sana once again. And now we get back to that. What will it take us to have that shift? Remember, it's important that you interact with us. Hashtag Morning Cafe at Linda_Lela, TV47 KE. Peter.
I think I do not expect that we will ever run away from our regional outfits and our tribal ethnic relationships. Why do I say so? This country does not possess a majority community. And this is the reality that must dawn to the Kikuyus, where I come from. They are only what I would call a significant minority.
Okay.
Luos are significant minorities. And therefore, because we have quite a collection of significant minorities in this country, it must be, and we must accept, that we need to formulate a political process that embraces that. Today, in the government of Ethiopia is divided into regions. And it is divided into regions. The person who came up with that policy actually cooled down the politics of Ethiopia. How do I say? Like, when there were those people who are the proposers of BBI, they were bringing a new set of leadership in this country, which personally I felt still did not address the regional integration that we would want in this country. I'll tell you why. Today, there's a person in Moyale at the border of Kenya and Ethiopia. It is the wrongest point from Nairobi, going over 715 kilometers.
Yes.
These guys are not involved in the making decision of this country. But do you know what? They are buying fuel at 136 shillings when we are buying it at 122. They are paying the highest cost of living, yet they are not consulted. When the last time you had a presidential candidate go to campaign in Moyale? Because as far as they are concerned, Moyale is insignificant. Now, how do we make sure that that person in Moyale is involved in the economic development and the decisions that will affect how he is going to do business? It is by coming up with an integration that addresses our community. And I am against this notion that we must forget our communities. First, hold on.
We don't say we forget them in totality. We say we can pride in them.
Listen, what we need to do, I embrace where I come from. But what we should think...
At the expense of others?
Listen.
All right.
I embrace where I come from, but how do I brand it to positively affect the development of this country? But anybody telling me to forget where I am is actually living in
Has the Mount Kenya region done that? And it's unfortunate that we have to take it to this direction, because that is the reality. You know, when we saw the CJ, his name being affronted, there was that feel that, oh, look at the tree, it looks like it's Mount Kenya, the hierarchy of the government and all that. When a couple of things happen, there's that feeling like, you know what, the Mount Kenya region is taking advantage of its numbers, to fringe upon also the interest of these other regions. How best can we have these conversations of priding in our very own communities and, avoid these scenarios that Mount Kenya will constantly being pointed fingers at?
Leader, allow me to say this. We will have to accept that there is a difference between the reality, the truth, and the fact, how things are done in this country. CJ, when I talk of CJ, in fact, she is my neighbor. I can brag on that. She is my neighbor. I come from Meru. So we are feeling very proud of her. But what comes next after that? It is she is going to serve Kenyans. As Muchedu is saying, she will be serving from Moyale to Coast. From Coast to Nyanza, and Nyanza to Rift Valley and Olva. But where does she come from? Is there any influence that made her to be in the position that she is? Let's accept. The reality is, we will not say there wasn't.
Okay.
There was. And this is the Kenya that we are living in. Trying to say that we can try and say and go away from regional development or regional way of doing things, it will never happen in this country.
It will happen.
It will not happen.
Why are you ready? Yes.
I am very confident on this. Because one, Mount Kenya, the way we call ourselves, Mount Kenya, because now we are soon and very soon, by the way, even this, the so-called Mount Kenya. You can see now we have Mount Kenya's West and Mount Kenya North and South, and now we have our own East Mount Kenya. Why do we have Mount Kenya East? It's because we are realizing at the same time, in the name of Mount Kenya, we are not benefiting the way we would want to benefit as Mount Kenya East, that is Embu, Tharaka Nithi, and Meru. We were Mount Kenya. I want you to understand that.
Yes.
Before we were Mount Kenya. But now we are no longer Mount Kenya. We are Mount Kenya East and Mount Kenya
Wow.
West.
Okay, Goli, before we come to you, Eric, yes.
My colleague here, I've picked two things from his submission. One, let me start with the bad. He has downplayed the jurisdictional significance of Moyale. This is a region within the territory of Kenya. And whether or not presidential candidates go to campaign there, it is a part of Kenya. And the good is that he said we need areas to feel significant. So here, indirectly, he has alluded to the fact that, you see, like for the Building Bridges initiative, there is the proposed, you know, like the Ward Development Fund, where at least 5% of revenues collected in county governments will be paid into for development purposes. And also, when you look at Article 11A that is to be inserted in the Constitution through the amendment, it now delves deeper into the economic inclusion of this country. And when you look at the issue of like incubation centers, and these centers are going to be stationed in every ward. So that means the people in Moyale do not have to feel excluded from the greater Kenya. So young people in Moyale will no longer worry about coming to Nairobi to get their dreams actualized, because they will be having resources right at the ward level. And that is what is going to help our young people realize their dreams and aspirations. Because Linda, you'll walk around, you'll see desperation, you'll see young people lacking prospects for the future. You'll see a country that is like, the distribution of resources is so unequal to the extent that you wonder why certain areas appear to be so advanced while others lag behind, yet they are within the territory of Kenya. So as my colleague had earlier on said, that we need to agree as a nation, that we need to pull together as a people. We need to put together our strengths and combine our ideas so that we have a one government that can, you know, the people can feel that they are part of this government. And that's why we need to move forward as a nation. And like he said, we need fresh blood, we need fresh ideas, we need fresh thinking into leadership so that we can, you know, change the status quo to the greater good of the country. Because if you do not handle the issue of economy, we will still be coming here to discuss about electoral injustice. We'll still be discussing the issue of electoral violence, because people are so idle that they are ready to be used in any way possible as long as it can bring 100 bob on the table, because in the end, it's about what are you bringing home for your family.
Why are you positive, Willie? Why, before we come to Eric, let's allow Willie first. Willie, why are you positive that indeed we are going to experience this shift?
You see, for the longest time, Mount Kenya has always bragged in numbers. Because of our ethnical numbers, we will always rule. But that's not the case right now. It's happening before our eyes, and it will continue to happen. Why? We have an outsider who they call William Ruto, whom right now, Mount Kenya mafias and the people who have relied on these tribal numbers to rule the Gikuyu nation for the longest time don't have an idea of how to throw him out. He's inside Mount Kenya, and there's nothing they can do about
You think so?
No, we are having a conversation about William Ruto in Mount Kenya.
All right.
He's a thorn in the flesh in Mount Kenya.
All right.
How has he been able to do there? Because he has realized numbers must, interest and numbers are twins. When you talk of we have numbers, you must have the interest of the numbers. So William Ruto realized that the interest of many people now is no longer in ethnical division. It is in poor people. So many people in Kenya are united by poverty. Majority of the people are poor, and that is why he's talking about the hustler nation, which cuts across all the territory of this nation. We have so many poor people in Nyanza, where Raila has been a leader there. We have so many poor people in Mount Kenya, where we have had 3 presidents. We have continued to have all these people, and that is why we are saying, Linda, now William Ruto has realized the problem is not numbers in these groups. It is the number of the poor people. And I, as Willie Kamau and Eric here, we have realized we have numbers as the youth of this nation, because we make more than 70% of the population, and we are the people who are dragging in poverty.
Okay.
Linda, I was
Only right there.
No.
Allow him 30 seconds. Allow him 30 seconds. 30 seconds. And then you'll take 30 seconds. You'll also take 30 seconds.
Seconds, and they are speaking.
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
They're taking away my 30.
All right.
These gentlemen, the 2 gentlemen, have an idea. They are very right. Whatever they are saying is very right. But in which country?
All right. Not Kenya?
We are changing the narrative here. William said, Ruto, we are changing the narrative, and that is why he's in Mount Kenya. We are also changing the narrative.
Eric, one, as you respond to them, do you suppose or do you agree with what it is that pundits argue, that, what we've seen with the by-elections is more or less of a protest vote from the Mount Kenya region to tell President Uhuru Kenyatta, actually, we are brothers in poverty as a country?
We are not brothers in poverty. We are policy poverty makers in regions.
The ones we vote for.
Kindly. When you talk
all right, Eric.
It's because I don't make policies. I continue, my brother.
I think so. What I'm trying to say is, when fish come from Homa Bay to Ruaraka, hitting 400 kilometers on the road, is that right? Is that policy wanted for Kenya? You deprive wealth in Homa Bay and bring it to Ruaraka. Why won't a Luo move to Nairobi to fetch for wealth? Is that not poverty making by policy? When we make BBI and have some constituencies concentrated in some areas, what does that mean? You make those constituencies definitely as sub-county headquarters. How do we do employment nowadays? Police are employed in the sub-county. Teachers are employed in the sub-county. Employment is done in the sub-county. Won't you make some regions have more people in employment than others? Is that not poverty making in some regions? Why is the biggest constituency in Kenya, which is as big as Nyanza, former Bonaya Godana constituency, was called North Hor? Why don't you divide North Hor twice? Don't look at the population. Look at the demographic, geographic pattern of a place. Make it 2 or 3 sub-counties. Let them be able to employ their people in their sub-county. They'll have 1, many policemen, 2, many teachers. Look at that wealth that come with a constituency alone, without looking at the constituency as numbers of making a prime minister forever in some region. Are you not opening that place for wealth? Yes. This word development fund my brother is talking about is hogwash. How much does Wajir make in how much does Wajir collect? And if their collection, how much 5% will go to Ward Development Fund? What will that MCA be able to use in that ward? If the constituency is as big as Garissa, then a ward is as big as Arwiru constituency alone. So if you give me 20 million, or let me give an example, a pure real example, 3 million a year as a Ward Development Fund, what will that person do with 3 million in a year in that region? Are you not going to set an election? Are you not setting up the guy mwenye ameelektiwa against the people? But the people will say, alipewa pesa, he's not developing.
But is it not what we're saying right now?
That is what we are saying. That's what I'm saying. The issue here is not anything other than policy. Let's change our policy. Toa hii kampuni, listen here. Toa hii kampuni Ruaraka. Peleka kampuni Homa Bay. Samaki inatoka inaingia kampuni, inatoka kampuni inaenda kwa airstrip. Airstrip, it goes abroad. You develop the region. Why do you concentrate things here? A question, what is Sugar Board of Kenya doing in Westlands? Why shouldn't it be in Kakamega?
Kakamega.
What is it? So the guys living Westlands to Kakamega, they have to be paid per diem, transport, maranini, just to go and see how sugar development is happening. What is cotton, whatever, doing in Nairobi, while cotton is farmed in Western Nyanza? What is Tea Board of Kenya doing here, and tea is in Kericho?
Are we not going to have other regions that are very strong, well endowed, and they'll start speaking of cessation?
And that is what we are talking about now. When you say Mount Kenya is overpopulated, it is overpopulated by Eric, whose father came to work in a coffee plantation in Ruiru. Eric was born in Ruiru. He became a population in Ruiru. If his father was having a better employment in Nyanza, I wouldn't be here. That's why you find a place like Kino. You may not think Kino is in Nairobi. You may think Kino is in Nairobi, or some part of Ruaka is in Nairobi. Kumbe some part of Ruaka is actually where? In Kiambu. If you're told you actually in Kiambu, unashtukanga unasema hiya, huku ni Kiambu. So that is what we are trying to say. You make other places become so overpopulated, and now we think Kikuyu are many. They are not many. Ni sisi tumewajazia huko just because we came for something.
All right.
I want you now to come to the up there.
Yes, Peter. Let's allow Peter, then we come back to you.
I want to tell Eric, there are things that will never stop happening. If you are a good student of history, you would recall about the agrarian revolution and the industrial revolution. That is going to happen every day. People will move from Kisumu to Nairobi. That's not happening. It has started happening before the new generation and before this development we see. That is something that is going to happen. There will always be people who will move to Kisumu, to industrial area. It's not going to stop happening. And I want to tell him, when you tell us to go and divide North Hall, the question I beg, today, where are hospitals required? They are required in that place that is overpopulated. So why would you invest money to North Hall that do not require that hospital? Today in Kiambu, people are not using the facilities. We also have a problem with that, yes. Today, Kiambu is 2.5 million shillings. 2.5 million people. Population. Now, we are only given what we call conditional grant by national government for hospitals is 500 million. It is only given to what we call level 4 hospitals and level 5 hospitals. In Kiambu, we have Kiambu, Thika, and Gatondo, which are level, now Gatondo is level 6. We have population that requires those hospitals. So when we say that we need more money, and the allocation of resources must be per head, not per region. Today, I come from a ward called Deya. It is in Limuru constituency. Deya is 143 square kilometers. It is twice Kabete constituency. It is a ward. It is in Kiambu. But what is the population of Deya as far as the entire Kiambu population is concerned? Is Deya requiring more hospitals more than Kiamba, which is overpopulated? Does Deya require more hospital than what we call a Biashara ward?
But somehow I get Eric's point that, you know what, the reason why people are concentrated in these areas because they can access some of these amenities that he speaks about.
I agree with him.
If you go and put the same on this other end, it is human nature that you'll definitely shift to this side.
And I disagree with the two of you.
All right.
Yes, and you have the right to disagree. And I'll tell you, Eric, when you don't allow people to express their point. I'm one person who shuts up when you're driving your point home. When you don't do that, it is a recipe for you to fail in the upcoming election. You allow people. Listen, I am saying that it does not make sense whatsoever to transport fish from Kisumu to come and be processed in Ruaraka. It doesn't make sense. I believe we have invested money. Number one, we have refurbished the port in Lake Victoria. We have refurbished the airport. So why do you want to bring fish? You know, it actually increases the cost of production because you have to bring vehicles that have cold rooms in them, transport them here. Well, you could have fished them, taken them fresh to the factory, processed them, and then put them in an airplane.
That now opens a Pandora's box because now we'll start thinking Africa. The fact that we have all the resources, so much resources, but then what?
It is let me tell you.
Why do you disagree? Briefly, let's listen to why he disagrees with the both of them, and then we come to you.
The reason I disagree is because
Make it brief.
Throughout history, a nation is built by the youth. Between those who are 18 and 40 years. When you say the people of Kakamega and the people of Mumias, with their sugar interest, the reason they elect leaders is so that they can stand and fight for their interest. What he's trying to say is that the people of Kakamega and the people of Cotton have no leaders to put their interest first. That is why they would allow that to happen. Manufacturing, board in Aleto, huku Nairobi, yet it's supposed to be there. What are the leaders of Kakamega doing about that? And that is why we are saying we need to change the narrative, and it should happen now. Why do we vote? We have been voting on tribal basis, not on leadership basis. And because change is gradual and it's a process, we must start that process now, because we are more united now by interest than those historical shenanigans of lies that we, the people of Mount Kenya, are like this, we, the people of Western, are like this. And that's why we are saying, you see, you are not running, but you are not running for a seat and then you're interjecting. You also say that, and you're not you're not running for a political seat and you're interjecting. He said it is the reason I'm going to fall.
Didn't say a word.
Same thing. I was also doing the same.
Yes, Steve. Let's allow Steve.
Let me say this. Population pools resources. That's what Muchedo was trying to say.
Yes.
Same case to what this gentleman is saying. The same population that pools resources is the same population that needs to elect a leader who will go and pool those resources and bring these resources to them. But I asked a very simple question. In which country are we speaking or talking about these things?
Okay.
These things will take, whatever they are saying is very right. It is supposed to be done, but where and when?
That is why we are here.
You are here, yes. How many are you? You have the idea. I'm supporting your idea, but where will I be?
We have 70% of the population.
Steve, why are you a pessimist? You will agree with me that whatever it is that played out during, the times of independence, while we agree that, the older Kenyatta was dealing and battling with the same problems that the younger Kenyatta is dealing with, but we have made strides. Why don't you believe that we can as well make strides in, getting this shift?
This is because, leader, this country, we have decided to follow the route of the only way of talking and not doing things.
Okay.
We are good in writing books, the books that they are writing now. We are good in talking and saying all types and kind of things that we want to say. But who is listening? Once you listen, who will implement? And how will you be given that chance to implement whatever you are talking about? When we go to the campaigns, we'll come with manifestos, books, pages full of ones and full of everything. But how many of them will be implemented? At the end of the day, the implementation of whatever will be written will only be on one, interest that took me to where I was going. Two, all the implementation that will be done will not, mostly by the end, it has happened in this country and it will continue happening until that day we will wake up, all of us. Because the revolution that we talk about, in fact, there is a time I saw revolution is coming in this country, but from nowhere,
it disappeared.
Because we were supporting the revolution.
Yes.
But waliacha watu wangapi wenye walikuwa wanaitetea alikuwa anaitwa Mwangi ama nani? And akina Omtata. The akina Omtata in this country, the activists are very many, but they are underground.
Okay.
This gentleman speaking here, I'm telling you the truth before we leave here. If he receives a call from the so he is against, I only one call, let us have coffee, and then msee we simama achana na hii maneno ni kushoteka kitu. That will be the end of this thing.
Guys, you know how many calls I have received so far.
Okay, yes. And you have
we have a point of truth. I have received so many calls so far.
Linda, let me finish.
Gentlemen, let's allow him to speak.
Let me finish.
To finish his point.
We are only here on this national TV speaking on how we can do things. But I'm telling you the truth, once we leave this space, we are outside there, things will be very different. He is here speaking, but tomorrow, wait and see what will happen.
A problem of leadership, policies, implementation. We come to you after a break. All right, after a break, yes.
Wondering what next in a crowded, confused and uncertain career market after KCSE? Worry no more. TV47, the fastest growing youth-targeted TV station across the 47 counties, brings you an entire month of career options and choice opportunities across all the leading universities and TVET institutions. We have put together a rich group of experts who will guide you through your career aspirations throughout the month of May. This will climax with a virtual career fair scheduled for the 28th of May at the University of Nairobi Auditorium. All relevant stakeholders are invited to reserve a seat via david.katiku@tv47.co.ke or careersfair@tv47.co.ke on 0791 999 883.
New Blue Band peanut butter. Made with 100% pure peanuts. And a good source of omega-6. Grow healthy and happy kids with new Blue Band peanut butter.
Hey, now that's hitting the right notes. When life gets boring, we bring out our play. You see, playfulness is in our DNA. It's in the way we move and laugh. It's in the way we walk, the way we rock, and how we just don't stop. You feel me? We add color to everything, to every day and every dish, because the world needs our crazy. We're the different flavors that make life more exciting. We're the ones who add color to every moment. Fanta, color every moment.
Willie Kamau, Peter Mushendu, and Eric Ragalu. We also have Steve Roberts. Why is Steve Roberts? Okay, well, there's Muriungi somewhere in between. All right, we don't question all that. And lastly, we have our very own Edwin Kigoli. Why am I Kigoli and all that? All right. I know, right? Amen to that. But he speaks like, you know, it's just like he would take up the challenge.
He just speaks like a televangelist.
No. You cannot say that. This young gentleman is doing it right.
This guy must have surpassed the youth age. So now he's looking for the interest of old people.
I mean, celebrate the ones that are doing it.
Yes, it is. Edwin, I am just saying. He is speaking so well.
Like a televangelist.
Like a televangelist.
Oh, all right. That's the point. We get your point.
You know the right message. Continue preaching it.
Right message. That's true. Yes, and as you speak and you weigh in on that, speak policy, speak leadership. And, you know, the bigger picture, the fact that, you know, when we speak about resources as Africans, then, you know, evidently, we don't even know how we get it right at the local level. Because, I mean, how many more is, and how much more is happening in the African scene where so much is going abroad for it to come back for us to use again, you know, making it more expensive, yet we own these resources.
Thank you so much, and I feel appreciated by my colleague. If it sounds like an invocation, I really appreciate that. So, Linda, a few things I want to point out. One, my friend here raised a very fundamental point in terms of why should we have a fish processing farm here other than, and that is a policy issue, you get. Yeah. So, can we have leaders take the issues that matter to the mwananchi seriously to the extent that they can make these decisions so that these processing farms are put where they're supposed to be? Number two, Linda, when we talk about making change happen, when you have a defeated mentality, you will keep complaining, you will keep saying things cannot change, but you've not initiated that process of change. You see, the Americans, as they enjoy the freedom of expression, the freedom of speech, democracy, it didn't come just by accident. They fought for it. Their lives that were lost. So as a country, it took lives of our freedom fighters to drive away the British.
And in low tones, some gentlemen here kind of say that the only way we get this is that we have to actually lose lives and fight a proper revolution. Would you agree to that?
You see, sometimes something has to give for something else to happen. So inevitably, you'll find there are casualties for some significant change to happen. Unfortunately, though. But then again, what do we do as Kenyans when we are given a chance to choose leaders? What do we elect? Who do we elect to our National Assembly? Who do we elect to the Senate, Governor, President, Women Rep? Some of these leaders that are in the National Assembly, they let pieces of legislation sail through these both houses to the extent that sometimes they come back and people realize these pieces of legislation are hurting us. That means some of the leaders did not take seriously the legislative work that they're supposed to do. And Linda, you'll appreciate that as a country, when you look at our education system, and in particular, I want to highlight the higher education, because that is the final training for people to be released into the job market. The World Bank reports that about 850,000 Kenyans are churned into the job market against a backdrop of about 140, 150,000 jobs created. So you get the difference. Where are these people going? That means the people who are not formally absorbed, they go into macro and medium enterprises, and these are a significant part of our economy. So if we get proper policies and proper pieces of legislation that would help empower and give capacity to these SMEs, and then we are growing our economy. And Linda, when we talk about the education system, you've had universities keep increasing fees, not because the quality of education has increased, but because our universities have been reduced into business enterprises that are struggling to survive. So when they increase fees, it is because they want to bridge that budgetary shortfall. Not because they want to hire more lecturers, not because they want to improve the quality of education, not because they want to get more advanced or sophisticated technologies that would help make, say, like medicine students better, or even, engineers better. So if we can reevaluate and do a thorough surgery of our universities so that these universities are truly made centers of excellence rather than business enterprises that are struggling, then we are making progress. And finally, Linda, on this one, when we look at our judiciary, we have made strides and gains right from independence to date. The retired Chief Justice Honorable Willie Mutunga and David Kenani Maraga have set the judiciary on a pedestal of progress. And Lady Justice Martha Koome has come in at a time when judiciary is just about to get full-blown takeoff. And when you look at Article 173 of the Kenyan Constitution, if Parliament can legislate the judiciary fund and it's made operational so that judiciary is not subject to the whims and the directions of the executive and Parliament, that their monies are a charge under the consolidated fund, and then we are having a judiciary that is independent. Linda, you'll appreciate one fact. As long as your livelihood is dependent on somebody, there is no day you will speak against the person, because the thought that comes to mind is that if I speak against this person, where will I get my livelihood? And there are those who said, Linda, some politicians I've heard on TV say 5 people somewhere sat and nullified a process. To me, I submit that these are not 5 people. These are people who've drawn the ultimate power from Article 1 to Article 153 of the Kenyan Constitution to exercise the jurisdiction, the judicial jurisdiction, because we have trusted the judiciary to act on our behalf. So going forward, let us respect the independence of judiciary, and when a judge or a bench makes a ruling against you, as the proponents of BBI, we retreated to re-examine why the High Court of Kenya nullified this process. And what we are going to do is to now argue our court, which now brings into sharp focus
Article 174, where
as you close, Edwin, so that the other gentleman can come in.
We are going to argue our case out, and I know the Court of Appeal, now that it has a president, is going to hear our appeal.
And the confidence that the key proponent, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, exhibits is that sends chills and worries very many Kenyans. Like, you cannot be that confident. But anyway, after all, it's a contest, and therefore you're there to win. Let's look at some of the priorities. Yes. Yes.
I have heard the two gentlemen who are talking about the young people, and I am
include women there.
Let me prosecute my point the way I know how.
All right.
I have heard them talk about the young people and the revolution in this country.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here and I'm asking myself, what revolution are they talking about? How many Kenyans are we today?
About 47 million.
Yes.
Almost
How
50.
many Kenyans possess a degree today in this country? It's about 1.3 million Kenya shillings, of which the National Bureau of Statistics has said 450,000 of these degrees are bogus.
Okay.
Now, do you know the Election Act that was passed by Parliament, as they continue speaking about the revolution they want to bring, bars over 49.4 million Kenyans from contesting on an election in this country because they do not possess a degree. And you're talking about revolution.
Okay.
You see, I'm asking myself, why do we sit here and look at these cameras and preach gospels when this country, today, the who is who in this country has robbed the people without degrees from leadership of this country? And you are talking here about young people taking over. Please give me a break.
All right.
Eric. In a nutshell,
all right,
we need to know what kind of a revolution we are talking about. There is a political revolution and an economical revolution.
Let's read this comment. Hold it.
Political
let me give you.
Covered.
Meshach O. Owino says this, and he says greetings to you.
Thank you.
Too, yes, he says, Linda, does any of these gentlemen understand what the session paper number 10 was to achieve for this country? Well, both economically and politically. And so when we're talking about revolution, it is hard to speak of political revolution and overlook the economic aspect. Yes. I mean, the two have to go hand in hand. Yes. And therefore, he says, we just need to go back to that junction and take the route we left.
Yes. Session number 10 is what I was talking about. Let's go back and look at where the rain started. Why did Kikomi go down? Can we return it back? So people in Kisumu stop coming to Nairobi. Can we just look at session number 10 critically? It was about growing our country. That's where we lost it. My brother has brought a very good point. And that point is where also I am feeling BBI was wrong. BBI people who made BBI are eloquent and learned people who had masters and whatever, who had opportunity to go to school. How many people have gone to school to the level they are? I have gone to school just because I had God and somebody to take me through.
Yes.
There are people who got an A in primary. They never went to a secondary school because they didn't have fee. And even if they went to a secondary school, they went to not so good school, so they did not perform to their capacity. There are people today with this pandemic, they cannot afford even meals. So do you want them to go to college? There are how many people have deferred in their schooling? Look at the country we have as Kenya. You cannot put a clause that you have to have a degree to become an MCA. I mean, Wayaki Wahenga had a degree to become a senior chief. You cannot put that you have to have a master's to become a president. What is the difference between wisdom and education? You only need to have a wisdom of birth.
Is education not a factor?
It is not a factor in leadership. Let me ask you. It is not. It is not. It is not.
Okay.
By passing the Election Act,
it is.
We have a county assembly that I will not name here.
Yes.
That only has a single graduate.
Okay.
An entire county assembly
and
that has a single graduate.
Okay.
You want to tell me that you have passed an Election Act? Let me tell you. It is dubious. Today, what is the mandatory level of education in this country?
I was answering that. What you need, people to have basic education. Basic education
is good enough to cater for the budgeting processes that we speak about.
Listen, after basic education, you have Form 4 and probably a certificate or a diploma. Okay? That is where I call basic education.
All right.
From there, behind you, in the policy making, you have people who are learned. My friend, for you to lead people because of votes, you don't need a degree to be voted, but you need a degree to get a job as a doctor.
All right.
But you don't need a degree to become a president.
Okay.
Because
to become a president?
You don't need a degree.
All right, proceed.
Which degree?
No, let's allow Steve come in.
Which degree? Which degree to become a president?
Steve, yes.
Let me say this, leader. You know, this gentleman is too much on education, which is good. And we are all on, in fact, I have kids that I'm pushing too much to have the best education that I did not receive.
Yes.
In my constituency where I come from, or the ward that I come from, I will tell you, if whatever they are saying about the constitution changing of the education and so on, the policy of education and so on, we will, at the end of the day, end up electing a Linda who will just come here and bring a lot of English and a lot of Kiswahili and doing nothing, totally nothing. Because at the end of the day, what they are trying to do is to show off of the English that they know and the Kiswahili that they know and the degrees they have and so on and so on. And they will do nothing because the show off is English.
Out of all these individuals that could be having degrees, I mean, we could have someone at least, out of them all, someone who's capable.
Yeah.
And that's why...
Let me finish.
Okay.
Linda, if a member of parliament comes to the parliament, they elect a speaker who is learned, who will be guiding them on the policies of the parliament. So as long as I can understand the policy that I'm being guided by the speaker on when to speak, when not to speak, what to do and when not to do, I go back to my people and work for them. CDF right now, it is not the way we used to do it 10 years before the constitution and so on. CDF nowadays is being divided from the national level. When it goes there, in fact, the MP is just a patron.
How do you oversight, as a member of parliament, legislative role, oversighting and representation? How do you oversight, how do you vet an individual who's learned to this level? Allow Edwin to come in and then we come to you.
So, Linda, I want to...
Make it brief, Edwin.
Yes.
Yeah.
One, when I lost my mother, I was almost sitting for my Form 4 exams. And my mother was the breadwinner of the family. So that meant my fees could not be paid. So I stayed home for third term, and the deputy principal in Mbale High School called my father and was like, please send your son to come and sit for your exams. By the grace of God, I secured admission in Moi University. I went to become the president, and I'm here as a policy analyst. So sometimes there are those who rise above challenges, who rise against all odds. We cannot trivialize the significance of education. Right now, we must appreciate the fact that innovation is driving the world. Technology needs education. You cannot pick just anybody to sit in that medical room and conduct a surgery. You must be taken through training.
That's where they agree. That's where they agree. So far, that's when they agree.
Yes. Which brings me to this point. Which brings me to this point. Even considering the Constituency Development Fund, it needs statistical data to make a decision so that you determine how many people are there, how many are deserving to benefit from this bursary fund. Now, you see, a committee of learned people.
Yes, you don't need to be learned. We will listen to you.
Allow me to take a process. In a nutshell.
Let's make it brief. Make it brief.
Yes. So, we cannot just pick anybody and put him or her as the head of state. You see, the president negotiates on behalf of Kenya. You want to take somebody who is not well schooled to go and negotiate for foreign direct investment. How are you going to convince?
Well, we're going to have examples of countries that have presidents that have negotiated and have.
No, which one?
The issue of education.
Which one?
All right. Let's allow Willie and then we come to you. Let's have order. Gentlemen, let's have order. Willie, make it.
South African president. Let me do 1 second. South African president.
Cyril Ramaphosa.
No, even before Cyril.
Before.
Okay. How far was he educated?
Which one are we talking about?
Churchill,
Zuma?
how far was he educated?
The guy who was bald, I'm forgetting his
Zuma.
name. Zuma.
Yes.
How far was he educated? You know, as a government, you have educated people under you who advise you in
Who will
a language
respect you?
can understand.
Okay.
Let me say this. We need to have a level where we can open playground to everyone.
Okay.
We will not have degrees and masters campaigning.
Are we not opening the playground for everyone to get the
which
degrees?
people degrees
Get the
and
degrees to
masters?
better the education sector. Okay.
Where is the degree? How much for you to get that degree? How much fee do you pay?
It's very expensive.
No, it's not possible to educate a kid in
Right. No, that one, Kegoli on that one though. No. Kegoli on that one. All right.
We have changed today. This country has changed the mode of education.
Yeah.
We have a new system of education.
Competency-based curriculum. Yes.
What does it? Aaron, let me proceed.
Really, and then we come. I know. Make it 1 minute. 1 minute.
We have changed the mode of our education.
1 minute. One meeting.
Yes, that is going to appreciate that not everybody understands the theory part of education. There are people who are gifted and they can do other things.
Yes.
Now, at some level, we are going to deviate. One is going to go to the technical part, and the other one is going to proceed to do a degree in medicine and everything.
Yes.
Now, in the Election Act, how does it address this person who went to the technical way? And come out, please.
Just
you can't keep telling me, please. No, I will know. I
call the show. He's winding up.
Don't interrupt my
Let him finish his line of thought. We should be brief, and then we come to you. Yes. Proceed, Peter.
So my argument is this, and this is the point. The basic level of education that has been made free in this country is up to Form 4. That's the truth. Number two,
is it free?
Listen, in the last 20 years, let me tell you, let's say it's free. In the last 20 years, about 146,000 people have applied for the, the HEB, the Higher Roads Education Board, and did not succeed. Now, this person, if he goes to court and says, I applied, I did not get money to go to the university, and here, you have decided to usurp my democratic right to be elected as a reader because I have made a petition. I've taken a petition personally to High Court, which has been given a hearing in September. Because my argument is the right to vote must be equated to the right to be voted in.
Yes. Hold it. Right, okay. Really.
That's why we're saying, Linda, we have to change the system of this country's education because it creates slaves more than empowerment. We have civil structural engineers gone through our public universities and private universities, yet we are bringing Chinese to construct our roads. So that means we need to change the system of our education. Someone is, today we judge intellect by how someone is able to speak English or not to speak English, but that is not the level of understanding. In fact, it takes more education to kill an economy than common sense. In fact, creating an economy creates common sense. It creates common sense. Who doesn't know? To empower the people of Mumias, you just need to revive their sugar industries. That is common sense. But it will take someone with a PhD to kill Mumias.
Thank you.
Well, Edwin does not seem to agree to that. But anyway, let's talk BBI. Gentlemen, yes, as you close on this one, yes.
Leadership is inborn.
Yes.
Leadership is inborn. It is God who gives leadership. God does not give education. God gives wisdom.
Thank you.
Once you have the wisdom from God, I'm telling you the truth. I've never seen in any verse of the Bible that Moses and Sijui who was in which university doing this and this, but he managed to bring the people of Israel from where they were supposed to be taken through up to where they are supposed to.
But we agree that education will enhance.
Education is good. Education is good. Yes. The system that they are bringing in now, the country, if it was adopted 100 years ago in this country, we could be very far. But I studied like 18 subjects doing nothing, and today you cannot even tell who I am because the things I was taken through, they never.
And my friend has just misapplied the Bible.
Whatever they are bringing will create more slaves.
All right.
I told you earlier is
I cannot get that one.
All right, now we are coming to that.
The reality of this republic.
It's not about evangelism here. We are looking at facts. You get?
Listen, you have to close on this one.
Listen,
Yes.
Not emphasizing.
It comes from God.
But listen.
That's what I was
This is what he says. This is what he says.
Let doctors have an education. Let engineers have an education.
And leaders
let
not
leaders
have
common sense.
Okay.
Linda.
And common sense is,
you see,
let's allow him to.
Let me tell him, because he is insisting on education. There is a reason why the President of the Republic of Kenya has over 30 people who are employed to advise him on how to do that.
Linda,
People who are employed are saying they are not jobs. Who is going to create these jobs?
Let's have some order. Let's have some order.
Yes, let's have some order.
Let's have some order.
To you,
Linda.
30 seconds.
I just have a simple question. Why did TV47 invite all these guys? That's a question.
Right.
So, back to him. The question is, when God chose Moses, he took him to Pharaoh's house. That is training.
Yes.
Joseph, he was in Potiphar's house. That was training. Because then there were no schools. So, we cannot misapply the Bible. Again, lastly, as he says that the president has legal advisors, but we don't elect advisors, though the president chooses advisors.
Yes.
Then again, who does the buck stop with?
The president.
No,
so
the voter.
my friend brought a very
voter.
important point.
No.
I understand his point. I understand where he comes from.
The president is a result of a dedicated
process.
It is good to reflect.
Yes.
It is good to reflect on people's submission, so that as you interject correctly.
Yeah.
So
no, we are not. Let me tell you, Ariel.
So
we are not.
We
don't need a marking scheme.
We have vested our executive power, the constitutional power, into the president to make decisions on our behalf. So the president has to be spot on. Even with the team of legal advisors, the buck will always stop with him, because when things now become thick, it will be, Mr. President, sir, we have a problem here, and it is only you who can get us out of this.
Maybe that's why we had I understand his point. Maybe that's why. Listen, that's why there were conversations revolving around the BBI and that quashing of that, and the argument was that the Attorney General misadvised the president, where the legal minds, and that's why I understand that. In as much as all this was saying,
our president right now has masters.
Okay.
But he can be misadvised.
All right. Now that's also another problem.
So do you really need education?
Gentlemen, we are closing it at that. We are honestly, we have not talked BBI. We have not talked.
Our president was schooled in the United States.
Yes.
And I'm not afraid to say that he is in the verge of leaving an economic mess in this country. He's a student of economy.
Yes.
Let me tell you, I feel jittered when Eliud here, who struggled to get that education, thinks that those people who struggle in Kenya and that they are not fortunate as he is, do not deserve a position on the table. They are, for heaven's sake, how do you reduce 49 million Kenyans to spectators of leadership?
In fact, I would advise him to read a book that is called Why C and D Students Employ A and B Students.
Okay.
Yes.
30 seconds.
Yeah, about economic revolution. In Kenya, we are in a situation whereby doing business is like a crime. From registering a company to servicing the company and doing business in this country is the worst thing you can do in this country. There is a way these things can be changed. Then now, whatever they are talking about changing the economy and so on, we will be in a position to do so.
30 seconds.
We need to do an economic empowerment. Let everybody have a fair chance in this country so that we can realize the economic growth and development that we so yearn for. When the Kenya Bureau of Statistics, the National Treasury are giving statistical data on growth and development, let it reflect across board so that our statistics reflect the actual situation on the ground.
All right, 30 seconds, Eric.
I'm a voter and as a votee, and the guy who was the president, and a guy who has run into elections, I have a degree but the person who with a diploma need to run against me. There are many, I don't need a fair chance that when I'm running that time, there will be like nobody to compete him. We are going to have a scenario where you will have constituencies where there will be no number 2. People will go without being having competitors. So the issue is of education. Let's have basic education, as it were. And then let's get people to assist these people.
Times are changing. The question would be then how basic is basic?
That's why I say the diploma and certificate.
Okay.
That is all we need.
All right.
Masters za kupeleka wapi?
Eric Ragalo, political analyst. Right next to Eric is Peter Mushendu, political analyst too. Willie Kamau, political analyst, but not just analyst because they are aspirants. You also have tried to vie, right?
I have not vied. I have absolutely no interest in vying.
Oh yeah?
Yes,
Ever?
I don't have interest in vying.
You know when Eric said you've been working together.
But for now, I don't have. I want to believe that this country needs to change the way we do business. Today, you can alight at Kigali International Airport, walk into an office, and by the time in 2 hours you walk out with a registered business.
Wow.
That is what we want for this country.
Edwin Kigoli, youth policy. I have already